subject information should be stored in single place. Here single place means don't consider it as a one table. It is one like one logical container.
Okay.
It may be a set of tables. So this principle says that complete subject information should be stored in single place. At the same time, subject should not consist any extra data or unnecessary data.
Hmm.
Non-relevant data. So only it's a data it should consist. You should not have any other records or any other data should not present in this place. So this is what this principle says. Clear?
Yes.
In yesterday's class, I told that database means it is a concept used to organize the data. Even data warehouse is also a concept used to organize the data. In both the contents, you are trying to specify how to store the data. But in general, database means you will say that we are creating tables and we are storing the data. Now, the same database, I'll use it in the business system process as well as in the warehouse.
Okay.
So in the business system, how do you store the data in the database? If you're working with the warehouse system, if you are using same database in the warehouse, how do you store the data? So we'll try to look for that particular information. So initially, I'll talk about the business system. How do you store the data in the business system? So usually we'll call that as an application oriented. And next we'll go with the subject oriented, that is warehouse. For example, I'm assuming that one showroom is there, shopping mall or showroom. They are trying to sell different types of items.
Mhm.
If they're selling different types of items, that information has to be stored somewhere, isn't it?
Yes.
So they're having something called as an items table. They're having an items table. Within that, they're trying to store the data. So for example, they're having some columns like item number, maybe category, item name, and what is the price of that particular item. I'm assuming that this organization is selling nearly 2000 type of items. If they are selling 2000 type of item, then that complete all the 2000 items should be stored in this table, isn't it?
Yes.
That means how many records will present in this table?
2000.
Yes. If they are selling 2000 items, that means this table will consist 2000 rows, 2000 records.
Mhm.
Now, in this business process, this organization found that they are unable to sell all the 2000 type of items. They thought that they want to sell 2000 type of items and they maintain that stock in their showroom. But unfortunately, customers are selecting only 1000 type of items and they are purchasing. Certain 1000 type of items, they are not at all moving from that particular showroom. Clear?
Yes.
So organization thought or management thought that they want to sell all the 2000 items, as some items are not moving. So they thought that they want to do some publicity. Now, if they do publicity for all the 2000 items, it is a little bit costly. So they thought that they want to do publicity for the items which are not moving. That means for 1000 items, they want to do the publicity because only 1000 items they are not moving. So only for those items they want to do the publicity.
Mhm.
So if they do the publicity, that information has to be stored somewhere. So they have created something called as a publicity table. So in this publicity table, they are trying to store some data like publicity ID and on which date that publicity has happened and who is the manager for that particular publicity, on which date that publicity has happened, and for which item that the publicity is defined. So that means item number, category, item name, price. Now, is it required to have all the 4 columns to know for which item they did the publicity? Is it required?
Mm, it depends, right?
Means it depends means the organization want to know for which item they did the publicity. Item information that is already present in one table. So is it required to copy the complete data once again into this publicity table?
No.
Unnecessary space will be wasted if you do like that, isn't it?
Yes. So
We usually
item.
call that as a redundancy problem.
Mhm.
As per the database perspective, as per the business system perspective.
Mhm.
So it is not advisable. You can maintain it, but
Mhm.
unnecessarily the space will be wasted and becomes costly because you need to have that much space in your system, isn't it?
Mm. Yes. So item numbers.
So only item number you will take, or you may say key column.
Mhm.
So you will make this as a foreign key column, whereas in item table we'll make this item number as a primary key column, so that we can establish a relationship. Whenever it is ready, you can implement join and we can read the data, isn't it?
Yes.
So organization trying to sell 2000 items, but unfortunately only 1000 items are moving. 1000 items, no customer is selecting that. That is the reason the management thought that they want to do the publicity for those items. So if they do publicity for those items which are not moving, that means how many records will present in this publicity table?
1000.
1000. This is consisting 1000 rows. Now, because of this publicity, sales is happened. So if the sales is happened, that information has to be stored somewhere. So they're having a sales table with the fields something called as in sales ID, and on which date the sales is happened, and for which item the sales is happened. Now, which item means it is not required all the fields. So if you just take the item number, it is sufficient. Make a relationship with that particular item table. Okay.
Mhm.
And what is the quantity sold? So for example, I thought that 1000 items the organization has did the publicity. Among those 1000, 100 items are sold out. What are the publicity they made? Among those items, 100 items are sold out. That means in this table, how many records will present in that case?
900.
Why
100.
900?
100
I
sold.
told that 1000 items they did the publicity. Among those 1000, 100 items are sold out. So in the sales table, you are maintaining the information which item is sold out. I'm not saying which item not sold, which is the
So one.
sales happened. Only that information will maintain the sales table, isn't it? It is
Yeah.
like
So
a sales
100.
bill. It will be like
Mhm.
100 rows.
Okay.
So once the sales is happened, the organization will receive the money, isn't it?
Yes.
Hello. So they're having something called as a revenue table. In the revenue table, they're having some columns called as, for example, receipt ID, on which date they received the revenue, for which item they received the revenue. So just if I maintain item number, it is sufficient by making a relationship with the items table and what is an amount they have received. So how many items are sold out means I told 100 items. That means they has to receive the revenue for all these 100 items, isn't it?
Yes.
But for example, I'm assuming that 100 items are sold out. On that particular day, this organization has received the revenue only for 2 items. Remaining things are under processing. Like for example, you have purchased through online shopping and you selected something called as a cash on delivery. So when the courier person came, you paid the money. You paid the money to that particular courier boy means it doesn't mean that our organization has already received that amount. It is under processing, isn't it? He has to submit that amount at the end of the day, isn't it?
Yes.
So, but still organization will consider that the revenue sales is completed, they got the revenue, but it is under pending process. Still they are not received it 100%. So same here, 100 items are sold out. But example, I'm assuming that only for 2 items they received the revenue, for remaining things are under processing. Clear?
Yes.
That means how many records will present in this table, in this case, revenue table? I'm assuming that 100 items are sold out. Under that, only for 2 items they received the revenue, remaining things are under processing. That means it consists 2 rows, isn't it?
Okay. Yes.
So this is the way of storage of data in the business system. Now we'll try to observe same thing in the warehouse. How do you store it? So in the warehouse means I told that it is a subject oriented. So we'll create in the form of subjects. So first the subject. Something called as, for example, marketing. So what is the publicity they made? That information has to be there within this. As well as for which item they did the publicity, that information also is to be required. Just if you have publicity table, it is not sufficient because it is talking about item number.
Yes.
So you should have an item table. Now we are trying to make this as a subject. As per my definition, what is this subject oriented? It should maintain complete information within the same place and it should not consist any extra data, I told. Now as per that, if observe here, publicity table is talking about for what are the items you did the publicity. So it is consisting 1000 rows. When you come to the items table, how many rows it will consist?
2,000 to 1,000. So 2,000. Yeah.
2000 is all items, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
But we did publicity only for 1000, isn't it?
Oh, yes.
So here in my definition, I already mentioned that it should not consist any extra data. It should have only its related values. Okay.
Okay.
So this subject is maintaining only publicity related information. So when you say like that only for 1000 products you did the publicity, so you should consist only 1000 items. Clear?
Yes. Yes. 1,000. Okay.
So it will consist only 1000 rows.
Yes.
Now because of this publicity, organization able to sell the items. So they have created a separate subject for that, for example. So what is that subject means? It is a sales subject. So in the sales subject, they should maintain the sales related data. That means they should have a sales table, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And we are assumed that 100 items are sold out. So if this table is consisting 100 rows. Fine. But what are those items? You should have an item information here, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Already we are having items table in the marketing subject, isn't it?
Yes.
But as per my definition, I told that complete subject information should be maintained in the single place. You are not allowed to share the data from another module or from another location. So whatever the data required for that subject, complete data should present in the same subject only. You are not allowed to share the data from another subject area. Clear?
Okay. Yes.
That means again I need to create an items table because we are saying that the complete information should present in the same place.
Mm-hmm. So I need to put it up in the sales table.
So once again, you're having something called as an items table under the sales subject. Now, how many rows will present in this items table now?
So
It will consist
1,000 rows.
5,000. It will be 100 only. No, sales is happened only for 100 items.
Okay, so 100. Okay,
Only
okay.
its related data it will consist. So 1,000 rows you did the publicity, but I am saying that only 100 items are sold out. Only that information will present. So it will consist only 100 rows.
Okay.
And because of that, they got the revenue. So they have created a separate subject for that, for example, as in finance. So they should have a revenue table here. But along with that, they should have an items table also. You are not allowed to take the data from sales subject or maybe from the marketing subject. So you should
Yes.
create the table once again.
So item table. Okay.
So how many rows will present in this?
Two.
Only 2 rows. Because we are saying the revenue received only for the 2 items. So it will
Okay.
consist only 2 rows.
2.
So this is in this particular format, we'll store the data in data warehouse system. Both the places you are using database only. Maybe you are using files only in both the places, in the business system as well as in the warehouse system. You may use the files, you may use the database, but the way of storing of data will be in this particular format. Clear?
Yes.
So the way of storing of data is different between the business system and the warehouse. So what is an advantage with this?
Mm-hmm.
For example, management is asking 3 reports. For example, is asking like this. So design a report. Which should show publicity related details, publicity details along with item details. So main only publicity related data should be there along with the item details. Okay. Similarly, is asking 2 more scenarios. Design a report which should display sales related data along with item details. Third one, design a report which should display
My finance.
finance related data. Or revenue related details. Revenue related details. Now, first of all, we'll take as per business system. So you want to display the publicity related data along with item details. What you should do? You should implement a join between publicity table and items table, isn't it?
Yes.
So we are trying to implement join between these two tables. Now, how many comparisons will happen to get the output? How many comparisons will happen to get the output? Join is nothing but internally comparison, isn't it?
Yes. So 1000 to 2000 compare. Okay.
1000 into
2000.
someone is helping to you, isn't it?
Yes.
He is attending along with you, maybe.
No, because he has a more experience, so he's trying to explain in my language too.
But it should be after the class, not while the class, no? It is like 1000 into 2000 comparisons will happen. Output will be 1000 rows. Output will be 1000 rows when you say send inner join or equi join. But if you talk about the comparisons, it becomes 1000 into 2000 comparisons will happen. It takes the item publicity record from the publicity table, picks up the item number, goes to items table, and scans all the 2000 rows. It is not like when the record is found, it will leave there. It will scan all the records of items table.
No.
And if it matches, displays it. If it doesn't match, ignore. Then it goes to the second record of publicity, picks up item number from there, again goes to items table and scans all the records. That means for each record of publicity table, it goes to items table and scans all the rows. That means 1000 into 2000 comparisons will happen.
Okay.
For the second question, we should implement join between the sales table and the items table. How many comparisons will happen here means for each row of sales table, it goes to items table. That means 100 into 2000 comparisons will happen. Maybe output is 100 rows when you say as an equi join or inner join, but comparisons are 100 into 2000 comparisons. Similarly, for the third question, I should implement join between the revenue table and the item table.
2 rows to 2000 rows.
Yes. Now, same thing we'll try to do at the subject-oriented warehouse level. For the first scenario, I should implement the join between the publicity table and items table.
So
how many comparisons will happen means here it will be 1000 into 1000. For the second question, I should implement join between the sales table and items table.
100.
So how many
100 to
comparisons
100.
means? Yes.
100 comparisons.
And when I talk as per the third question, implement join between revenue table and the items table. So the number of comparisons are something like 2 into
2.
Now for the first question, again, if you compare between these two things, application oriented and the subject oriented. In application oriented, for the first scenario, how many comparisons are happening means 1000 into 2000 comparisons. Whereas in subject oriented or in the warehouse, 1000 into 1000 comparisons are happening. So which one is more faster?
The subject oriented.
So the number of comparisons are reduced. So it is more faster. And you can clearly observe that in the third scenario. In third scenario, in the application oriented, it is 2 into 2000 comparisons. That means 4000 comparisons are happening. Whereas in subject oriented, only 4 comparisons. With the help of 4 comparisons, you are getting an output, isn't it?
Yes.
So subject oriented is more faster. Both places maybe are using database only in the business system and the warehouse, but the way of storing of data is different. Because of that, warehouse is supporting you to read the data in a much faster way. Clear?
Yes.
But is there any drawback or any issue with the subject oriented? Like if you observe in the finance subject, there are 2 item rows. Definitely those 2 item rows will present even in the sales subject also, isn't it?
Yes.
That means duplication of data is there. May not be in the same table, but in multiple tables, you're trying to maintain the records again and again. That means you need to have more storage space. If you want to work with a warehouse, perform analysis every week, he has to spend 2 days. Means it is very difficult for the person who is doing a very good business, isn't it?
Yes.
But when it comes to the subject oriented, spend the money for the infrastructure only for one time. Obviously, automatically that spending time will reduce, and the same infrastructure lifelong you can use it, isn't it?
Yes.
So at the high management perspective, spending money and reducing the time period is more suggestible for the management. That is the reason the people who are having a very good business with a lot of money or a lot of content, those people will go for warehouse system. But the person who is doing a business with the less content, then for him it is not suggestible to implement the warehouse system. He can work only with the business system. The person who is having very good business and within less time you want to perform analysis, only for such type of people, data warehouse is advisable. Clear? So this is what subject oriented principle. So what is an advantage by following this principle means within the less time we can get the faster output so that management can perform analysis very easily. So here analysis means it is not like one report. Like here I talked about 3 reports, but you may read 30 reports, 40 reports, or maybe 100 reports. If each report is taking 1 hour and he has to spend that much time for analysis, means it may not be possible. Maybe within 1 minute, 2 minutes, the report output should be generated. So if you need in such a way, better to use warehouse system. Clear?
Yes.
So this is what first principle. Next, integrated. Main thing is subject oriented only. Remaining things are smaller things.
Okay.
The name itself is explaining what does it mean. So this principle specifies warehouse system should have a capability to integrate different operational systems data to one place. Here one place means don't consider as a single table, it may be a set of tables, but in a logical container.
No.
So in the business process, usually you may depend on multiple type of storage systems to store the data. If you store the data in such a way, then generating report from the multiple storage systems becomes difficult. So to overcome that problem, we are asking to integrate the complete data into one common type of storage. That's what integrated. For example, there is an organization like an Oracle. They're trying to develop different types of softwares and they're selling it. Now, to develop the software, they need a lot of resources. They need a lot of infrastructure to develop it. So for the infrastructure or maybe for the resources, they need to spend the money. That means they're having expenditure to develop the software because they have to do a lot of research work and they have to design and they have to develop. So they need to spend a lot of money for that. But once the product is ready, once they sell that product, they'll be getting revenue. Now this organization want to know whether they're having profit or loss. If they want to know whether they're having profit or loss, they should preserve their data. What is their expenditure? What is their investment? What is the revenues? Based on that, they can know whether they're having profit or loss. Now, to store their data, they should have their own project. That means they should have their own in-house project to store their own values so that whenever it is required, they can analyze the data to understand their data. So, for example, I'm assuming that they're having their own in-house project with a front end. For example, they're using something called as Oracle Apps Technical. For example, with the help of that, they're having some front end screen or GUI screens and the back end. To store the data, they're using something like Oracle database they're using. They're using Oracle database. So with the help of this particular in-house project, they're able to maintain their data and they're able to study their data. Similarly, for example, there is one more organization called as an B. So any idea about this organization, B?
No.
Have you heard any term like WebLogic server?
No.
So it is an application server, a powerful application server in the market. Mainly there are like we are having WebSphere and WebLogic. These two are powerful application servers. Mainly for enterprise applications, you'll be depending on these particular servers. So this WebLogic server is developed by an organization called as an P. Now, even these people, they are releasing WebLogic server with different versions, almost for every 1 year or 2 years or something like that. So that means they're adding some new features in the existing software and they're releasing it. So they'll have some expenditure to do the research work and to develop. By selling that particular WebLogic server, they're getting a revenue. So if they want to know whether they're in profit or loss, they should maintain their data and they should study. That means they should have their own in-house project. So for example, I'm assuming that their front-end application is developed in Java language and the back-end, for example, they're using something called as Natiza database. So with the help of that, they're able to store their data and they're able to study their data. Similarly, for example, I'm assuming that Siebel, these people are giving basically CRM applications. But this organization also, they're doing a lot of research work and they're adding some additional features to the existing version and they're releasing it. Releasing means they're selling it. So that means they're having some expenditure and they're having revenue. So to maintain their data, they should have their own in-house project. So for example, their in-house project, they are designed in such a way that they're using front-end screen as a Visual Basic, for example, and the back-end, they're using something called as a Microsoft SQL Server. Similarly, for example, one more organization like PeopleSoft, these people are providing actually HRMS. And even these people are having a front-end application and back-end application to maintain their data and to study their data. So for example, I'm assuming that these people are also having front-end as a Visual Basic and back-end as a SQL Server database. Similarly, I'm trying to take one more thing called as a Java language.
Okay.
The Java language is developed by, usually we'll say, Sun Microsystems. And even this Java also, they're giving different versions. By giving the support, they're getting a revenue. But to develop that particular versions, they're spending some money. So they should have their own in-house project to maintain their data. For example, I'm assuming that their front-end application is Java itself, and the back-end, for example, they're using MySQL, for example. Like this, every organization, they're having their own in-house projects with their own front-end tools and back-end tools, and they're able to maintain their data and they're able to study their data. Oracle Inc. or Oracle Corporation, if you take it up, their own software or their own product is Oracle. But this organization acquired WebLogic server, CRM application, HRMS, and Java. That means indirectly all these are products from Oracle in the current period. So they purchased the WebLogic server, that means B organization, Civil organization, as well as PeopleSoft. So HRMS application, CRM, WebLogic, all these are products from Oracle nowadays. Even Java language is also belonging to Oracle right now. From August 2010 onwards, it is in the hands of Oracle Corporation. Java language I'm talking about. Now, this Oracle organization management want to study their data. Study the data means it is not like an Oracle data now. They are talking about complete data. What is the total expenditure in the last year? Whether you spent the money for Oracle or a WebLogic or a CRM or a Java, we are not bothered. Tell me what is the total expenditure, what is the total revenue, irrespective for which software you have spent it on. So, what are the backend tools you're having? They are databases only. When you say database, I can write in SQL language queries. So for example, a select statement, and I can read the data. So is it possible to write a single select statement or set of select statement by implementing joins and to read the data from all these databases. Is it possible?
Yes. Wonder.
Database to database SQL syntax may vary.
Mhm.
There is a possibility. Same way, data types will change. For example, you want to store salary in the Oracle database. Maybe you may say number data type. But if the same salary you want to store in SQL Server, you may use decimal data type or you may use money data type. For storing character data in Oracle, you will use varchar 2, whereas in SQL Server, you will use varchar. So data types are different, functions may be different. So if you're having the changes in this particular languages, then how can you write a single statement or set of statements by implementing join? It is not at all possible. You cannot read the data by applying joins between these databases and to read the data directly. Maybe you have to develop a separate program for that, and with the help of you have to do it. But direct with the help of queries, it is not possible. But management is asking what is the total investment and what is the total expenditures, or maybe total revenues. We cannot say it is not possible to read the data as they are having different databases. Now all these products are belong to Oracle. Oracle is having their own database like Oracle DB. Now, do you suggest to remove this Natija, SQL Server, MySQL, and keep the Oracle database in all these places? Means it is not advisable. This project is already running successfully years together, so it is not advisable to make the changes here. But if you are unable to, if you are not making changes, then it may not be possible to read the data from these places. So what you will be doing means you'll be creating some centralized system. You'll be creating one centralized system, maybe by taking one common type of database. It need not be database only, but we are considering it as database. And now this database may be a SQL Server, maybe an Oracle, maybe Natija, anything. Once it is implemented, then read the data from this first database, Oracle database, and write the data into this centralized system with the help of some programming technique. Maybe write the program, with the help of that program, read the data from Oracle database, identify what are the corresponding tables in this centralized system, and you write the data to there. By writing only required data, unnecessary data, you can remove it. Similarly, from the second system also, maybe write a separate program, read the data from here and write the data. Same way from all these other places also. So try to bring this complete data from into the centralized system. So maybe it is a SQL Server, maybe it is an Oracle, anything. Once data came into the centralized system, then I can write a set of select statement by implementing join, and I can read the data because everything is present in a common storage system, isn't it?
Yes.
So this is what data was. We are trying to integrate different operation systems data into one common type of storage. Clear?
Yes.
So here I told that we are writing programs. Maybe you write in C language, C++, Java, .NET. It is your wish. But it is nothing but ETL process. So it is your wish whether you want to write with the help of programming languages or maybe want to use automated tools. Maybe Power Center tool, maybe data stage, maybe Abincio. It is your wish. Maybe you can use SSIS, SQL Server Integration Service. You can use any one of these ETL tools and you can perform loading data from this particular business system to warehouse system. Clear? So this is what second point called as an integrated. Clear about this?
Yes.
Third principle, non-volatile. Non-volatile means read only. This principle specifies warehouse system should not allow to make any changes in the existing data. That means every time it should allow to write the data, but not allowed to make changes in the existing data. Clear?
Yes.
If data is keep on changing, it is not suitable to perform analysis. So you should maintain the steady data. That is the reason we are asking to maintain read-only data. Like you take a stock market, what will happen in the next second? Can you predict? Means it is not possible because the data is keep on changing.
Yes.
So you want to analyze the data means you should have a steady data. That is the reason we are asking to maintain as read-only. But it is, even though you are saying like that, but it doesn't mean that complete warehouse is read-only. That is not correct. Only the required data will maintain in the form of read-only, not the complete data. Okay.
Okay.
Like for example, one person has recruited in an organization by saying that he is a junior developer. Later is promoted as a senior developer. Later is promoted as a team lead. If you say that we are working with the warehouse system, so it is not possible to change his job. Means it is not possible, isn't it?
Yes.
You have to change it. Same way, for example, you open an account in a particular bank by saying that you are located in address A. After 2 years or something like that, you have changed it to some other address called as a B. Immediately, you'll go to a bank and you'll apply for change of address. Bank people cannot say that you are working with warehouse system. It is not possible to change your address. They cannot say like that. They have to change it, isn't it?
Yes.
So here it is read only means it is not like the complete data. Only certain type of data are read only. Okay.
Okay.
So you have to identify whether the changes are required or not. If required, then only you have to make the changes. But does it changes on frequent basis? Means no. Like bank, like employee recruited in a particular organization, he got a promotion means he will not have the change in his job on everyday basis. Occasionally it will be there. Same way, one person has changed his address. That means he will not change it on everyday basis. Occasionally, isn't it?
Yes.
So your warehouse system allows to make the changes occasionally depending on the type of data and the requirement of that particular data. But in general, we'll say that warehouse will not allow to make any changes, but it is not for the complete data. Clear?
Yes.
Next, time variant. Warehouse means we are saying that it is maintaining historical data and the current data. So how do you know which is history and which is current? If you want to maintain the history and the current data, you should not overlap it. You have to maintain the complete information. When you maintain like that, what is the old value, what is the new value? So you have to identify with the help of date column or maybe with the help of date and time column. So you should have a timestamp in your storage system to know whether your data is recent data or the old data. So this is what time variant. Principle specifies warehouse system should consist timestamp means date, maybe date and time. For what purpose? To know which is day and which is current. Maybe based on that only you can say that what is sales happened yesterday, what is sales happened in the last week, what is sales happened in the last month, what is sales happened last 2 months, something like that. When it is possible, if you have a date column, with the help of that only I can calculate and I can present that particular data. So you should maintain timestamp. So if any storage system maintaining these four specifications like subject-oriented, integrated, non-volatile, time variant, then it can be called as data warehouse system. Clear?
Yes.
Next topic, dimension modeling. So how do you maintain the data in the warehouse means we'll say it is a dimensional model. So we'll maintain the tables by saying that the dimension tables and the fact tables within that particular tables only will maintain the data. So usually the descriptive related values will maintain the dimension table, and what are the values used for calculation purpose, those values will put into the fact table. So with the combination of dimension and the fact table, we will be designing the warehouse. So what is exactly dimension table, what is fact table, how the difference will come, those type of things we'll discuss in the next class. For today we'll proceed here.
Okay.